Hey, welcome to the Breaking Hyman podcast. My name is Morgan.
Lori Amber.
Cameo Belez.
Cameo is our guest, and we're going to talk about a lot of things today. You do stand up here in town, Cameo.
Yes.
Have been for what, like a year and a half?
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
Had a little bit of a hiatus. We've seen you back the last couple weeks. It's been good. So I'm going to start this by saying I am not a parent. Both of you are.
Yes.
The closest I ever came to being a parent is when I was a house parent at children's homes. But I feel like I'm parenting my mother now.
Yeah.
She is. She called me about 45 minutes, an hour ago. She's on her way to some friend's house, who I have not been out to their house in 2 years. I haven't been out to their house in 2 years at least. Some people she goes to church with. And she's like, how do I get out to DJ and Kathy's house? This road is blocked. And I'm like, Mom, have you thought of calling them? Because you literally just went to church with them. And it's it's like I'm doing the parent thing again. And my mom's only 64. But
Your mom was young.
64-year-olds, 60-year-olds, they're wild.
Yeah.
They are wild.
My mom was never wild. My mom, I think she was wild for like a whole like weekend, and she had 2 kids, and then that's it.
Yeah, that's a hell of a weekend.
That's it. She was never wild. She was
They weren't
always
even
like
twins.
the most small town conservative lady. Yeah, no, we were not twins. We're 3 years apart. Yeah, just saved that semen.
Right. She's like, no, we're
Ready to go.
not doing that again.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah.
Sure, that's what happened.
Parenting is hard. I'm not going to do it, at least not firsthand.
Yeah.
You know, I might end up being a step parent at some point. I might be a step grandparent.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a niece, but you know, you got young kids, right?
Oh, yeah. I have a 5-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy.
Oh, my God. How are you even here right now?
I know. I saw the opening and I darted right out. I was like, I love you guys, but fuck
Gotta
off.
go.
Well, they got a dad who is watching them now, correct?
Yes. So
Good.
my daughter, her biological father, he's still active in her life,
Right.
but my ex-husband, he ended up like adopting her, taking her in as his own, and he's been there since pretty much the beginning. Like he taught her how to walk. Like
Right.
he's been there.
So as soon as that coochie was empty, he was occupying it again.
Yeah, and then he forgot something, and I pulled it out, and I
What
was
a
like, "Here, you
romantic.
forgot this."
Here's another
Right,
kid.
You left something here
Yeah.
at my place. There's a sweater and
This
Baby.
being, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. When I the first time my parents were house parents at the Children's Home of Lubbock, and
Okay.
whenever I was like 15. But when I was in college, I worked as a weekend relief staff.
Yeah.
Can't say that. And there was this kid, Kalen, and he's probably like seriously in his 30s now.
okay. I was like, hang on.
This was 2005 when I was
Oh,
working
wow.
there. So yeah, he's easily in his 30s.
That's when I got married.
Yeah, crazy.
Your kid's older than mine, and you don't even have
I know,
one.
right? Yeah. But there was this guy, Kevin, that was also a staff member, and Kevin was engaged. And Kaylin asked him, he's like, yo, Kevin, when you and your wife get married, you're going to have kids immediately. And he's like, no, man. He's like, we want to enjoy. He's like, man, when I get married, I'm going to have kids immediately. And one of the other kids said, he's like, yeah, and then they're going to end up in a children's home.
Dang.
Oh, that's so fucked. No.
It is. But you have not made that mistake because
Right.
you spent some time. We've talked about this in foster care, in children's
yeah.
homes. How
No,
old were you when all that took place?
So what ended up happening was I was 13 years old.
Okay.
My dad found out that I was actively having sex, like sexually active.
Not passively having sex, actively having sex.
Right.
Yeah, that would have been
So
fine.
he ended up finding that out and literally like caught the guy in the bed.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
we
like-
won't ask how old the guy was. It doesn't matter.
Right.
87.
He's the godfather of my daughter.
Oh, the Godfather. The Godfather.
So,
I mean, you make solid friendships.
right.
You know?
Honestly.
Hey, but how old are you now?
I am only 24.
So you don't have an 11-year-old, so we knew you didn't get pregnant. When you
Right?
Right.
Right? Like, we were safe.
on the
It was
quick math.
great. So, found that out, and then he shipped me off to my abuela's house. And
Okay.
she lives out in Enix. Like, you know where Morton is?
Yeah.
Near Lubbock.
I've
Like,
never heard
middle
of
Enix.
of nowhere. Middle of nowhere.
Jeez.
Literally, cotton fields this side, sunflower fields this side, and then corn in front of you. Like,
Oh, damn.
nowhere.
No dudes to fuck.
Yeah.
I
well,
mean, I don't know. My grandma's pretty wild. I mean, she's
Grandma's
You said
friends.
you off to
yeah,
the
she
source.
grandma friends.
Yeah.
There you go. And then from there, I finished the school year there.
Okay.
So it was like 2013. I ended up leaving and stayed. That was like April-ish of 2018.
Okay.
Finished the school year at my abuela's, and then my dad came and got me and took me to a children's home
Okay.
Damn.
down in Cherokee. Yeah.
Damn.
Oh.
So I went.
Jeez,
Yeah.
okay.
And that is a 1A town.
Is it
Like,
called the Cherokee
6
Children's Home?
Yeah.
Is it called the Cherokee Children's Home?
Yes.
I've known some people that work there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like before you were there, like way before.
Yeah.
So.
But it
Yeah.
was super religiously,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah, they all are.
crazy,
They
out
all
of church.
are.
I did end up getting, like, baptized there, and it was
Mm-hmm. Is
really
it Church
cool.
of Christ?
Thank
There's-
God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Church of
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah. Shout
Yeah.
out to the Vasalis. They're good people. They worked there in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the cottage parents I had,
They call them cottages. It's
Yeah.
so weird. A lot of children's home,
It's-
they call the houses cottages.
weird,
They're
but
not cottages.
they
They're
were
huge.
they were kind of weird, and I ended up leaving there. I think I want to say before the summer was over.
Yeah.
And I went and lived with my mom.
Okay.
My
Not a long
mom.
stint.
No, that was like 2015 when
Okay.
I went to my mom.
Yeah.
About ish.
Okay.
What town was she in?
She was here in
Here,
Lubbock.
okay, so you
Okay.
come back to Lubbock.
Yeah.
So Cherokee, Texas, back to Lubbock.
Yeah, my mom ended up finding her sexuality, and she came out as being a lesbian.
Right. I think I've met your mom. She came
Yeah.
to a couple shows.
Bet your
She's-
dad was stoked.
Yeah,
I'm guessing they weren't together anymore.
No. But he's just
I'm
trying to
pretty sure
find
he's
a-
thinking back to it and realizing, like, damn, I should have had my wife and the girl I cheated on her with, like, come together.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, you know?
I don't know, man. Lesbians are a different kind of thing. When a dude wants a threesome, he wants a threesome with two like hot ladies,
Yeah.
not like butch lesbians.
Whoa.
No.
There are some very sexy lesbians around. I don't know what Morgan's talking
On
about.
Cinemax, there are.
Right?
In real life, you know some.
I
Matt.
mean, yeah.
You just
maybe.
can't see them because you know they don't want you.
They steer clear from him. They're like, oh, nope.
No.
Right.
I'm not.
I don't wanna have
concerned.
to
I'm not
explain.
concerned about lesbians right now.
Right.
But I ended up living with her, and then her and I got into a fist fight
Oh,
because
shit.
of her girlfriend.
Right.
On my prom night.
Holy shit! So you're in your like prom dress. And you're like,
No, I literally like, I'm sorry, mom, I love you. You know, like, we have a great relationship now, but I literally like had her and I was punching her in the face,
fuck.
and I was like, mom, let go, mom, let go.
Oh my God. She's like, with my
And-
face? What do you want me to do?
Because she wouldn't let go of my clothes.
She
and I
had your
was-
corsage.
Yeah, like everything. She was ruining everything. No, I'm kidding.
Everything was going to be perfect.
She ended up kicking me out and like right in front of the police officer, saying she never wanted me to come back. I was a piece of
Wow.
shit. The officer gave her an option. He was like, look, this is how it's going to go. You're either going to let her go to her prom night and y'all calm down and she'll come back tonight and y'all can talk it out, or I arrest you. And
Oh,
she started
shit.
screaming at the cop, and the
Holy
cop
shit.
put her
Good
in her
move.
place.
Yeah, good
and
move. They love
sat
that.
there and was like, you know what? I'm fixing to just put you in handcuffs just cause. You know, like, you're pissing me off at this point.
Wow,
So,
this is entertaining.
so then after that, I moved in
So you're
with.
like 17, 18?
No, it was
You were-
2015.
So-
It was
So
like
you're like
all,
15?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
15 years old, and
How were you doing at prom at 15? What?
I had an older boyfriend.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, if they
So,
get invited,
yeah.
they can go.
I ended up going to go move in with my boyfriend at the time, his family. Well, then I got kicked out of there because they were accusing me of having sex like with an older gentleman, like
Right.
blaming me for it.
Right.
But
What was this guy's name?
So you were no.
I actually can't talk about it
I'm
because
sorry.
the case is now
this
about to
was
go to trial.
like
Okay.
a
Oh, shit.
non-consensual
Okay.
Yeah, like,
situation.
So it depends if he takes a plea deal or something.
I mean, that's
you know?
that's what they call the
Wow.
statutory.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I was 15.
Crazy.
Yeah, making
And-
all of the decisions for this grown man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I knew how to pay the bills. You
Yeah.
know, like I
Yeah.
definitely knew.
Yeah. Sounds like you grew up quickly.
Oh, very quickly. I had to because not only was I going around a lot, I was the second born.
Okay.
So I have an older brother, then there's me,
Right.
then there's all my younger siblings.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So it was me and my older brother, we were mom and dad. You
Oh,
know?
you were helping raise the younger siblings.
Yeah.
That's such
Setting
a
a really bad example.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
better gotta ship her out of here.
Oh, yeah.
I came from a homeschool background, and there are a lot of homeschool families that have that situations, like the Duggars, and some people early. Obviously, we know that was a fucked up situation with the older kid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
abusing
After
their-
11 kids, that was a fucked up situation.
Yeah, no,
it just
exactly,
Got worse,
and,
but
and
yeah.
I mean, I think if any, and I mean, people can have a lot of kids and be healthy about it, but
Yeah.
when it comes to that kind of situation, it's like it's a vagina, not a clown car. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
And if there's anything where the older kids take on any parenting responsibility, that's fucked. I think that's
yeah.
fucked.
It's
But
one thing to have the older kids help out with
Yeah.
the younger kids. It's a whole other
Yeah.
thing to be
It's-
like, you
it's-
got this.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
And-
it becomes a pyramid scheme, not a
Honestly.
parenting.
And I
You know.
think in some cases it happens accidentally because the more kids you have, the more income you need. And so
Yeah, the
then-
more you're gone.
And,
Yeah.
and then
I mean-
let's have some. Let's get some tax breaks by having
Right.
4,
Well-
5, 6, 7.
like I grew up in the 80s. I've got two and a half older brothers.
Right.
My
One of
half
them's a
brother,
midget.
Yeah, well, he is pretty short. But no, my oldest brother is my half brother,
Oh,
and
got
he
it.
didn't grow up with us.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I mean, but so essentially, growing up, it was me and my two older brothers.
Right.
And it was the 80s. My grandmother lived with us, and my parents and my grandmother worked. And my brothers were in charge of me. I mean, they had to make sure I made it to kindergarten and home. And,
Right.
and that's with 3 kids in the early 80s. So,
Right.
yeah.
80s hit different. I was a 90s
Yeah.
kid. You're a 2000s kid.
Yeah,
so,
80s definitely hit
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Oh,
But so we're back to the boyfriend's parents.
Yeah.
Kicking
Well,
you
it
out.
wasn't his parents actually. The parents didn't want me living with him. So his family was very tight knit.
Got it.
So I went and lived with his uncle, like his uncle and his aunt.
Okay. Got
So
it.
and that's a whole fucking situation
Sure.
there.
It doesn't sound ideal.
No, it's not. And anyways, I spoke up about like, hey, this guy's taking advantage of me. Like
Right.
I spoke up to the aunt first initially and her sister and
Okay, got
they
it,
did
got it.
anything and everything to try and help me, you
Sure.
know, and then that's when my boyfriend at the time, his uncle stepped in. At first he was raging it almost type
Yeah.
vibe and wanting to kill the dude.
Sure.
And then he sat back and he's like, wait a minute, I've known this guy for this and this long. And, you know, like, how true is this? And then my boyfriend's stepdad got involved and was like, I think she probably put herself out there, you know? And it's like.
And you're 15.
I'm
yeah,
a
I don't give a fuck
child.
if
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm a
you don't know
fucking.
what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what ended up happening was they ended up kicking me out, and I was living at Maxie Park here in Lubbock. Like, I would have to take showers in the pond, like
that's
good.
such a bad
I
situation.
was 15 years old, and then on top of that, because of everything that happened, I wasn't able to be going to school and
Right,
like,
of
keep
course
up
not. Of course
relationships. So one day, the guy who had like was grooming me and shit, he pulled up to the park. He saw
Yeah.
me there,
Right.
and I was like, "Fuck, I have to survive."
Yeah.
Right.
So I ended up caving into him, went with him, and
Right.
then from there,
It's almost like he designed it that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
Weird.
it was very awful, and
fuck.
I
That's
figured out a way out.
Good.
I knew my dad would stalk my social medias
Got it.
constantly.
Got it. Okay.
So what I ended up doing was I convinced the guy, "Hey, let's go back to my hometown
Yeah.
and let me visit a couple of old friends so I could tell
Right.
them bye, you
Yeah.
know, and then you and I can whisk
Yes.
out forever, you know,
Yeah.
whatever."
Live
Yeah.
the dream that
Right.
Wow.
And he was okay with it. So he took
Sure.
me down to Banks, and then I had told him, I said, "Can I please like use my phone? I want to take a picture with my friend and post
Yeah.
it and, you know, show everyone I'm doing okay."
Okay.
Because I hadn't made a post and I knew people were getting concerned or whatever. I'm playing into this.
Yes.
Sure.
You know, like I'm calculating it.
The
Surviving.
gears are turning.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
figuring.
So-
Well, I mean, and it sucks that there had to be some manipulation on your end to
Right.
get out of this situation. But I mean, that's
it's a testament to what
what
you
survivorship.
learned on the way.
But
So, yeah.
I ended up posting a picture. The guy I posted the picture with was the same guy that my dad had caught me in bed with.
Nice.
And I
Holy shit.
knew
The Godfather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew if my dad saw that photo,
Right.
he was gonna be livid and like
Okay.
call the police and
Got
like
it.
have somebody
Nice.
help me and shit. And that's exactly what happened. He ended up
Okay.
calling my
Wow.
mom and was like, "Where the fuck is she?" And then he got my mom to report me as a runaway to CPS. And I remember coming back from Bangs. I was in Barnes and Noble. That's where he dropped me off, and he took off to go do something. He said he
Right.
was coming back,
Yeah.
and for me to just chill there. I came out of the bathroom from Barnes and Noble, and you know, there's that little hallway.
Yeah, sure.
I was coming up that hallway when Brandy Loya, shout out to you,
The lawyer.
Loya.
Brandy
No,
Loya.
no.
Oh.
Is that a lawyer?
No, she's a CPS investigator.
CPS
Oh,
investigator.
nice.
Okay.
She ended up walking up
Okay.
and asked me to go with her. It was one of the worst rainstorms that Lubbock had ever seen that day.
Hey, it's
And-
raining right now.
Yeah,
coincidentally.
right? Like, it's gorgeous. But
It is.
Nice.
I ended up going with her.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, the call she got me reported
Yeah.
as a runaway. So
Okay.
she's trying to get me to go to juvie and shit. But the officer that came on scene looked back on the records and was like, "I'm not fixing to arrest her. She was kicked out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from there, she had to figure out where to place me in
Okay.
a home. And she told me, and it was scary, but she told me, she was like, "You can go to Houston, you can go to San Antonio, you could go anywhere where we can find a spot for you,
Right.
but you're going to a foster home."
Sure.
And I thank God every single day. Sorry, I don't mean to like impose any
No,
religion,
you're-
whatever.
but
Don't be
It's
sorry.
it's your story.
Yeah.
I am so grateful. My foster parents ended up picking up the phone at 2:00 in the morning that day,
Yeah.
and we're like, "We'll take her, bring
Yeah.
her here." So
We're
I ended
all
up,
grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And they are the best people in the entire
That's
world.
great.
Like when I got there, I wasn't the best kid. You know, I had
Well,
problems.
no, I mean,
like you know,
weren't set
like,
up to be.
but they ended up answering the call, and because of them, I implement a lot of what I saw from them
Sure.
into my life.
Right.
It was the most positive influence that I could have
Yeah.
ever had.
Are they here
And-
in Lubbock?
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
Beautiful. So you got to be.
Can I say their names?
If
Am
you-
I
if
right?
they're
Okay.
okay.
If they're comfortable.
They're wonderful people. Like they're the Turners, Chantel and Willie Turner.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
They are
Cool.
amazing people.
Now, were they at the children's home, or were they just
Foster.
They were with
like
Buckner Foster
Buckner's?
Home.
Nice.
Yeah. When me and my ex-wife did the children's home thing, we were at two different ones. So I was at Texas Boys Ranch here out near the airport.
Right.
But when me and the ex did it, we were at Cal Farley's Boys Ranch, which is a primarily privately placed children's home. Kids from all over the U.S. We had kids from like New York State, Arizona, Alaska. We had a kid from Michigan. All over the place because it's huge.
Yeah.
But the last place was High Plains Children's Home, and that was both of them are religious. High Plains was a Church of Christ one again,
Right.
and fuck Licia Moody, who I believe is still out there, anti-gay, working with kids. And she
With
should
troubled
not.
kids.
She said in
Yeah.
a staff meeting one time that if we had any gay kids, that she would like convince them that they what they were sinning or whatever. So, but
good, that'll help.
the kids that we worked with, I still have been kind of in touch with, Facebook friends with some of them. They're great kids. They have kids of their own that have not gone into CPS
Right.
care.
See, and
They've
that was
been
the
good
thing
parents.
for me.
And yeah.
You know, my abuela was in the
Yeah.
system. She got adopted
Oh,
by her
geez,
aunt.
yeah.
My mom got adopted by her grandparents pretty
Yeah.
much, and then I ended up in the system. And it's a pattern with the women in
Yeah.
my family.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
just
It's-
historically,
it's rough.
it's
Yeah.
rarely the dude's problem.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
if they
Yeah.
don't want it to be.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's because the dads can, they can just be the sperm donors and Jed,
Right. But,
But it's a hard job being a foster parent, being a house parent. It's a hard job being a parent. Period. Because both of you guys know that.
Oh, yeah.
But and I mean that's
Not if you do it badly. It's pretty easy. No, I'm kidding.
I think not only is it, I think it's just hard. Like, yes, it's hard being a parent. You always kind of want to rip your hair out.
Sure.
But you also, like, that type of love
Mm-hmm.
that you have for these little human beings.
Right.
And they're always going to stay little in your mind. You know?
Yeah, that's
Like,
unfortunate.
that's
My mom
what-
still thinks of that.
Right,
That's
as she's
what
calling you for direction.
makes it easier for parents. Whereas
Right.
I think it's honestly harder for foster parents, children home
Right.
parents.
Yeah.
Like, even I'd like to simplify it all the way to the extent of even being a teacher, because
Yeah.
you can grow
Right.
to love these kids and
Yeah.
you never knew anything about them. You don't know their history, you don't
Yeah.
know what they've been through, but you know that no matter what, you're gonna stick by their side
Sure.
and be there for them. Or it's one of those things like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And then you feel helpless and even more defeated, because then they have to go somewhere to get the proper help.
Right.
And your heart's crushed.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Knowing that you're doing the best thing that you can do,
Yeah.
it doesn't help.
And
Yeah.
I will say this from the perspective that this is why I hate the religious children's homes, and that's all they are, because a lot of them are funded by churches. They're funded because they get partial funding from CPS, from the state
Yeah.
or whatever, and they get funding from like private donors and stuff. So a lot of them can only function because there are churches.
Right.
So, but it's hard enough to get these kids to do their homework, to eat healthy, to take their meds, to go to school. It's like, oh, and now you want me to try and indoctrinate them to this dipshit religion?
Yeah.
I mean, it's teaching them values, teaching them
Right.
the important stuff, but it's really like, and we have to indoctrinate them to this specific like Church of Christ or Baptist.
Well,
I just have a major issue with that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Because it's like, really, we have to take these group of kids to church on Sunday morning, and it is cool having the youth groups and stuff.
Right.
That was having them feel normal and feel a part of a thing. We would even sometimes let the kids spend the night at one of the youth group.
Really?
Yeah.
We're both
Yeah.
like,
What?
Yeah, they would do-
Red alert.
I was in the system. I had to go down to Austin
Really?
to fight, to change the law
Yeah.
in Texas, to even allow a kid to spend the night at their next door neighbor.
Oh, really?
Like,
Yeah.
literally, in the foster
There-
care, it's locked down.
Yeah.
we had families, and I mean, I don't know if this was something so we were me and my
He just got them on a bunch.
me and my ex-wife were relief house parents. We would go
Right.
between two homes, and the main house parents, who one of them piece of shit human being. I won't say his name here, but he is a fucking
You get a pass, you lucky piece of shit.
Whatever. Yeah, no, he didn't do anything wrong with the kids.
Okay.
He didn't do
All
anything
right.
wrong with the kids. As a person, bad guy. But
Could be worse.
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
yeah.
No, he couldn't be much worse. But
If he did bad things to the kids.
yeah, he didn't do anything bad to the kids. But he said, "Oh yeah, no, it's cool if you let these girls spend the night at this family's house, on Saturday night, and then you'll just get them from church, the next morning or whatever." And it's like, cool. And I think we maybe asked the caseworker, because we had and the caseworker was like, yeah, that's fine. But we had caseworkers that were specific for that children's home, because
Right.
each children's home has their own caseworkers that they, whatever. So, but that's a little bit of an aside. But yeah, so you had a huge pain in the ass trying to like be a normal kid while you were at Buckner's.
It was one of those things that I realized. So whenever I got to my foster parents' home,
Yeah.
I was difficult. I was telling them like I'm fixing to run away.
I'm
'Cause,
grown.
Yeah, at the end of the day, my plan wasn't to go into foster care. My plan was to escape this horrible
Right.
person.
Sure, yeah.
So to go
Yeah.
into a foster home, I sat there and I was like, dude, you know what? Fuck you. My friend told me if I could end up escaping this
Backfired,
guy,
yeah.
Yeah.
like I'm fixing to go live with them, whatever. But the first day that I was there, I kind of was distant, but I had the same mindset of, okay, let me survive through this.
Yeah.
And I started being around them. Like they took me to church. My
Oh,
foster
yeah.
parents
Yeah.
were religious themselves. Being recently baptized myself, I was like, you know what? I'm not opposed to religion, And so whenever we got to church, I was sitting in the van because all y'all remember those
The
big
15
ass
passenger vans. Yeah, every
you
time
know?
I see one of those, I'm like, oh, that's a children's home van. Those
Yeah.
are some foster parents.
Well,
And they're
it's
on
not-
their way to church.
Yes.
And it's
always.
also one of those things, every time I see one, I'm like, hey, that's like the pedo van. And then I
Oh.
think about it and I'm like, wait a minute, those have
It's like
kids in
the
them actually.
incorporated pedo van.
I hated driving those. I drove those for years, and I hated driving those fucking things
But
so much.
I sat in the van and then I ended up like, they took their time with me.
Sure.
They were patient as
good.
hell.
They knew.
And I slowly started integrating with them.
Right.
And I was like,
Hey,
holy shit, I'm safe.
is this love? What is
Yeah,
this?
like what the fuck?
Yeah.
I've never experienced this
Yeah.
really. And I would see how my foster dad would treat my foster mom, and he
Right.
like loves her with all of his heart, and
Right.
they were just always united. They had their kids like with us because they had 4 boys, but
Oh,
they
wow.
not only did they have, I mean, not 4 boys, 2 girls, 2 boys,
Right.
but not only that, they took care of their nieces, nephews, cousins.
Bless you, sweet folks.
They amazing people. Amazing. I can't like literally all you're gonna hear is praise for me about them.
Well, good.
job,
I'm
Turners.
glad you had good
Great
ones,
job,
because not
Turners.
all house parents, foster parents are good. Some of them are shitty. I
No,
mean,
they are. They
I'd
are.
like to think that most of the kids I worked with, and it was in the dozens. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
only did it for a few years, but I mean, it was upwards of like 35, 40 kids that I worked with, boys and girls, mostly
Yeah.
in the adolescent range, 13 to 18.
preteen.
We had some younger ones that probably wouldn't remember me too well. But yeah, I mean, that's important to have the stability, to have someone that you know cares about you. I mean, the thing I did is that's when I learned to love to cook. I would cook meals for the kids, and the girls, they always wanted to help. The boys didn't give a shit.
Yeah, no,
They did
don't.
not give a shit. They're not were relational. I liked working with the girls more because they were more relational, and the boys just
very
beat the shit
interactive.
out of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And you given the opportunity.
This ain't my vibe. I
Well-
wasn't that kind of boy.
Right. Let's go cook some muffins.
I also came across I had foster sisters
Sure,
as well.
of course, yeah.
Like 2 of them, they were actual sisters,
Right.
and they were dealing with their mom was recovering,
Sure.
and they were planning on
Of course.
going back with her, and I got really close with them, and they had a good time
Mm-hmm.
with the foster parents, so all 3 of us, and then there was this one bitch.
It's always that
you
one bitch.
fucking
One
dumb
bitch.
ass hoe ass motherfucking bitch. No, I'm kidding. But she ended up coming into the home, and we thought everything was cool.
Yeah.
That's when the relationships
The
turned
dynamics
it
always
turned
get
sideways.
fucked up.
She had been in the system almost all of her life,
Oh.
which we understood. You have a probably more traumatic experience
Sure.
than we have.
Right.
However, what we had at the time, it was going good.
Yeah.
I integrated into that goodness. You know what I mean?
Right.
She just saw it and wanted to topple
Right.
it
Right,
down.
yeah.
And it changed to where my foster parents started kind of at a time period, they kind of were on the fence with me, and it changed. So everybody was kind of on guard from each other.
Right.
And finally she ended up leaving the house, and it was like, oh my God, we can all breathe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man.
I can attest to that from going through that process. When you have a problem kid that fucks up the whole house, it's like, thank God Shauna is gone.
Like,
I
I hope
Random
the
name.
best for
Just
her.
a random
Could be any,
name.
buddy.
Yeah.
No, seriously. Well, none of our girls was she violent, punchy?
No, see,
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
the thing. I'm gonna call this bitch out on this.
Go for
So
it.
she would sit there and she would fucking wrestle with the other 2 foster sisters and get in playful punching matches and
Okay.
shit. And then she sat there and she one day tried to call. For some reason, she got beef with me.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. Never knew this bitch. Never associated with her. But sorry, the black coming out of my tongue. But let me tell you.
I mean, you were raised with black kids, obviously.
Yeah,
being in a
no, my
children's
foster
home.
parents were black, and so
Oh, awesome,
yeah,
cool.
no, they really they were amazing.
Yeah.
was-
What did you miss? I told you they were awesome. Clearly,
They were
they're black.
fucking great. They are the greatest things.
Yeah.
To
You said her
walk
name was
this earth.
Chantel, right?
Yes. Chantel Turner. You should have.
Okay, got it,
Right,
yeah.
right.
But no, she would sit there and get in those play fights with them, but she would never do it with me.
Really?
And shit. And so
You
one
got
day,
those nails.
yeah, shit. She tried to call me out on it one day, and she was like, "How come you never wrestle me?" And trying to make it seem like I'm a pussy or something.
Right.
shit.
And I'm sitting there, and I looked back at her, and I said, "That's because you're too scared to challenge me."
Right.
Like-
You want to go?
I mean, all I see is air and opportunity. And I took the air. Try me. I am ghetto, baby. My foster parents, when a lot of people don't realize, they are very elegant, very classy, very together, very prosperous. I'm ghetto.
I mean,
I'm hood.
you told us your backstory.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
you know,
From the ghetto?
I like to tell people I'm a Neapolitan baby. And
Right.
because I had grown up with Chicanos, I've grown up with whites, I've grown up with blacks, I've had a glimpse of an Asian influence on me
Right.
too. I'm Neapolitan, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Like,
You got some MSG.
ice cream sundae. It's an ice cream sundae.
Yeah.
right
Right.
here. But
Just missing them bananas.
I mean, I got 2 baby daddies. I don't think I was missing that. You know, like,
15.
So what So that girl was not there for very long.
No, surprisingly, she was there longer than we thought.
Really?
So, but she did
Enough
end
to
up.
cause a problem.
Yeah. She did end up leaving. Everyone kind of started to be able to breathe again.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that
Sorry.
after we experienced her,
Right.
Jesus, they started taking in boys. But it was like young boys, like little kid boys.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
like,
So it
it
wasn't
would-
like the same age as y'all.
Right. No, that would be very bad. That would be
yeah.
very, very bad.
No offense.
I
You'd be like, who do we have today, Mom?
mean, but
We got this 17-year-old quarterback named
He can sleep in my room.
Jeremy. He's,
I would have had a kid a lot sooner. Like,
Right.
but what ended up
Bless you,
happening,
Turners.
yeah. So they took in this one little boy, and he himself was also kind of a troublemaker.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I don't want to like I don't know what
Was he
he
just
had.
troubled?
I don't know if he had like ADHD
He, on the spectrum.
or, you know,
yeah.
like,
Some issues.
you know, I didn't
you know,
know. He
I
was
mean,
just very like everywhere, but I think
He was
in my
a little
head,
fucking spaz.
yeah,
Is what he
he
was.
really was. But in my head, I thought that was normal,
Right.
Until like one of my brothers was the same way, and then he ended up getting
okay.
diagnosed with stuff.
Okay.
So I didn't know,
Okay.
him,
Sure.
Yeah.
but he ended up trying to report my foster parents for abuse.
Oh.
Like saying
some
that they were
bullshit.
abusing
Okay.
him because he didn't get his way about something. I still
Right.
don't know the whole story. The investigators ended up coming into the home
Mm-hmm.
and asking each of us questions. And the whole week prior to them
Mm-hmm.
coming in, my foster family was kind of distant from me
Mm-hmm.
for a minute, and they didn't really like socialize with me,
Mm-hmm.
like nothing. So I thought it was really weird. I was like, what's going on? What's
Am I
happening?
getting shipped out?
Honestly.
Did I mess up?
Right. So then the investigators came, and the way that the home is set up is you have it's like a duplex but with no walls,
Right.
And so they have their living room, there's the foster kids' living room, their
Yeah,
kids'
it's
bedroom. our
yeah, it's a
bedroom.
pretty
Yeah.
standard setup. Yeah, with
Right.
like did you have two hallways where it's like this hallway is
Yeah.
for the kids and this is for the staff or whatever.
Right.
Where, yeah,
So-
their area.
Parents.
I was
Yeah.
I was in their living room with the investigators away from the other foster kids, and they started asking me questions about like, oh, have they like tried to punish you, like have they tried to hit you or spank you?
geez.
They went so far as like, have they used like exercise as a punishment, making you do like 500 push-ups a day.
Oh, wow.
And if you didn't do that, then you got stuck with all the chores. Like they were asking wild stuff.
You're like,
And I sat there and I started telling them how great my foster parents, how amazing
Yeah.
they were, how wonderful they treated us. And I ended up telling the investigators, you know what? You have the wrong house, and I think it would be best if you left.
Yeah.
Because right now you are creating problems where problems are not needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are a family. This
Yeah.
is a home.
Yeah.
And you are not going to come in here
and start accusing
and
people.
especially my
Yeah.
foster parents. At that time I held my foster parents to be
Oh
my
yeah,
parents.
you're protected.
You know?
Protective of them, yeah.
Well, my foster dad was in the hallway of the doorway right here. I didn't know
Right.
he was there.
Yeah.
But he was kind of hiding and listening in.
Right.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm kind of telling off these investigators, and I said respectfully, fuck off. And they ended up leaving, and whenever they left, they interviewed the rest of the kids, and then we had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't remember where, but we loaded up into the van, and my foster dad, he ended up leaning back, and he goes, "Hey, Cammy," because that was my nickname. They were like, "Cammy," and I said, "Hey, yeah, what's up?" And he goes, "I owe you the biggest apology."
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, "For what?" And apparently they had thought I was the one reporting abuse against them.
Oh, shit.
So that's why they
Crazy.
were kind of distant in
They're
a
like,
sense.
okay, hands
And-
on.
We'll come to find out that little boy was the one
Okay.
reporting supposed abuse
Yeah.
and whatever. And
Way to eavesdrop.
yeah, like he sat there and was like apologetic to me, and I was like, you know what? I completely understand where you're coming
Right,
from
yeah.
to an extent.
Yeah.
You know, like you hear that somebody first off is talking shit about you.
Yeah.
Second off, if the findings came out to be true,
Right.
they would lose everything.
Sure, yeah, no, of
You
course,
know?
yeah.
So that's a lot on the line.
Yeah.
So I told him, you know what? Like, you don't owe me any apology, any
Yeah.
explanation. You don't owe me nothing.
Right.
With everything that they have done for me, they will never owe me ever.
Yeah.
If anything, I owe them. You know?
Well, I mean, it's great that you look at it that way.
I
Yeah.
suspect loving and taking care of
Yeah.
your kids is probably going to be the
Yeah.
biggest thanks that
Yeah.
you could ever give them.
Oh yeah. Whenever I got pregnant with my 5-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
the first person I told, aside from my friend who was there with me while I took the
Oh,
test,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Nobody takes us alone the first
oh yeah,
time.
no, never. I got the 3-pack. I wanted insurance.
like-
This can't be right. You know,
Absolutely.
the first person I told was my foster parents.
Oh, wow. That's
They
cool.
were the first ones,
Yeah.
and
Sorry.
it was. I didn't know what to do. I was 18 years old.
That was my
You
question.
know,
Mm-hmm.
like brand new to the world. On the right note, you know,
Yeah,
starting my
and-
life as
and
an
what
adult.
in 18 years?
Yeah.
Really, just the 5, the
Yeah.
last 5 at that point. like-
Really. But ended up going there and I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. And it's because of my foster dad that I didn't, you know, put my daughter like for
Up for
adoption
adoption,
or
Yeah.
went to
terminate
have an
or-
abortion or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like because of him, he sat there and he told me something and I'll never
Yeah.
forget it for the rest of my life. He said, God gave you a child for a reason.
Right.
And he sees fit for you to have that child right now. And again, you know, not trying to impose any religion. I feel like for me and my own experiences, there's got to be something greater.
Sure.
Because I wouldn't have been blessed at the end of the line where I was
Right.
the way that I had been, you know? So I do have belief, I do have faith. And when he told me that, I sat there and thought to myself, holy shit,
Yeah.
he's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. I have the strength, I have the will, and I'm going to be the best parent I can be. Of course, I shot that to shit whenever like, no one tells you about the beginning.
Dude, there's
whenever
so
they're
much nobody tells you
oh
that
my
it's
God.
10 months.
They're first
of
off,
all.
yes, okay, 10
Fuck you,
fucking
Jason
months.
Cave. It's 10 months.
10
of pregnancy.
months.
It is not 9.
But it's not only that, it's like they focus on the pregnancy and like
Right.
the labor, and they don't tell you about the first month.
Yeah.
Whenever you sit there and you feed them and you change them and you know,
You're-
burp them and they still cry.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
They do tell you don't shake them. They spend a
Yeah,
lot of time
yeah.
on don't shake
Don't
them.
shake
That's
it.
really
I
what the-
prefer my baby stirred, not shaken.
You and me both.
I literally have had to like lock myself in my closet for 5 minutes while my 5-year-old was screaming.
Yeah.
And
It's
like,
crazy. They're parenting.
But
Like I think it was
good
like
job.
Dr. Spock
Good
that
job.
like said like back in the 60s or 70s, like parenting books. This is like a bestseller. He's like, put your baby in behind a closed door and let it cry until it stops because it's not. And it's like, what the fuck is that?
Well, and
I mean, in taking a
there's
break
some-
is one thing,
Yeah.
but like, you know, just letting them cry.
we
It's like they're
need to-
crying for a reason.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
need to address first.
You know,
that
they're
you've
colicky.
checked
They're
that there's no fever.
Yeah.
Their diapers clean.
Right.
They're not
Yeah.
choking on. You know, like
Well, going back to the thing with the investigation and stuff, you were not wrong. My ex-wife and I were fired from the last children's home. She was fired. They have to fire the couple though because
Right.
you live there. You're live-in staff. They can't fire one and not the other. So one thing about children's homes is because it is a children's home, you're not allowed to have, you know, liquor in your home. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to have guns or anything. We didn't have
Thank
guns.
God.
We didn't have guns.
No.
We didn't have guns.
I don't know.
but
It's Texas.
there
Yeah,
there
right.
was
Right,
a
it's
there
gonna be
was a guy.
mandatory
There was
next
another house parent that got fired after us because he was like showing the kids his guns and stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
you're not
Fired
even.
that
my
guy.
Yeah,
God.
exactly. He's dead now, so it's fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
not by
they
gun.
showed him.
No,
That be a lesson for you kids.
of an unrelated medical condition, being a fat piece of shit. But so it doesn't matter. But my ex was a heavy drinker because she could not deal with her medical problems, the anxiety, the stress,
Yeah.
the whatever. So
them kids.
and our boss through whatever channels found out that my ex was drinking, had proof. And used it to boot us out of there. I should have divorced her at the time. I stayed with her for another 10 years. But, she caused me to get fired from my job and kicked out of my home, the dumb bitch. But, if I would have stayed with that job for longer, I would have done the children's home thing longer. I'm glad I'm not in it anymore,
Yeah.
just because it is a very hard job.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
But it did lead me to, getting my teaching degree. I work in education. So,
That's
but
good.
yeah, I work with college students, so it's not like
Right.
little
Right.
kids.
You can
Yeah.
legally hit them a little bit.
I mean, I don't.
You
not-
don't get to
they
keep your
above
job.
18.
I don't
These
think I'm
hands
allowed
is for
to legal.
everyone.
I can't legally hit anyone. They're adults.
Yeah.
I would get
Mutual
a-
combat.
Yeah.
Mutual
Mutual
combat.
combat. Is
Yeah.
that a thing?
Self-defense.
Yes.
Is that
is
Game
it.
of Thrones rules?
No.
Trial by
I-
combat.
You're thinking
No,
of Mortal
man.
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Different.
So
Yeah.
we're coming up on 45 minutes. Do you have any last things you want to ask, Lori? You want to
yeah,
share?
I've got a lot of questions.
Okay, well,
Okay.
we can
couple.
go for a little bit
Awesome.
longer.
Well, it's my fault. We're late. Anyway,
Yeah, whatever. I'm
so let me go ahead and make us later. Okay, so did you finish high school or get a GED or anything while you were with the Turners?
I ended up actually finishing high school early.
Oh, cool.
I graduated. I was the youngest
Hell yeah.
of my class. Finished my classes
See,
2016. Walked the stage 2017.
You were just ahead of your time your
Yeah.
whole life.
Honestly,
you
I
were doing 15-year-old stuff at 13,
Yeah.
18-year-old stuff at 15,
Yeah.
graduating school early
Oh, yeah.
after being homeless and not going to
It was
school.
the same year. The
Wow.
same, like, I ended up getting everything taken care of. I wasn't the
Nice.
smartest of the smart, but
You're not
during
done.
that time, thank you. I appreciate that. During that time, what ended up happening was I finished high school, and in the course of me going through the rest of high school, I cut off all communication with my actual family.
Oh, wow.
All of it. I went to the judge because, you have to, if
Emancipate.
well, not for emancipation.
Oh.
It's like the checkup of being in foster care.
I see. Okay.
And I went to the judge and I was like, I don't want them to be able to contact me. I don't want them to have anything to do with me. The only person who could get a hold of me was my abuela. And that's because I worry about her.
Well,
you know?
and you want to know if
Right.
yeah.
And she
So-
probably makes tamales and shit. Too.
Not anymore.
Oh.
Not since. I mean, she got in a really bad car accident, and so she
sorry to
can't
hear
even
that.
like do her hair and stuff.
poor lady.
She used to have like long, gorgeous hair,
Yeah.
like super long. But I wish she could make tamales.
Oh,
That would be
well,
great.
maybe you'll have to
Or
learn.
at least maybe I was like maybe I wish she'd have taught you how.
Yeah. Well, I do. I can. You know, I
Okay.
taught
Good.
myself. I am self-made. You
There
know?
you go. Boom.
Well,
But
we'll
from
see how the tamales taste.
But so from there, finishing high school, I ended up going to court and I wanted to enlist. I wanted to
wow.
enlist in the Navy. So the judge had said, well, even though you don't have contact with them and you're living in foster home, your foster parents technically don't have full custody of you.
Right.
Your
They're
parents-
foster, yeah.
Your
Yeah, you
parents
can't
have
eliminate
some.
rights unless
Yeah.
it's very hard to eliminate
So-
parental rights. Yeah.
Oh shit. My bad.
Just
What
put her in
ended
scenario, don't worry about it. She's got kids, y'all. It could've
Yeah,
been anything.
you know, like the
It
fact
could've been
that I
like
showed
a
up,
Cheerio
you
and,
know, I'm gonna find something.
Right.
But from there, the judge had said you need your parents' write-off.
Okay.
So my
You
mom
weren't 18 yet?
No, I wasn't.
okay.
I finished high school early,
Gotcha.
and I was immediately wanting to enlist. I had a recruiter,
Oh, yeah.
everything, you know, and my mom ended up finally, instead of having to go through court and fight to be able to even enlist, she ended up helping me out and just going ahead and signing the documents.
Oh, cool.
The issue that they found, though,
Yeah.
my dad had primary custody.
Oh, fuck. So no Navy for you.
It was, well, not quite. We found a loophole, and it was to where I went down to Austin, and that's whenever I was fighting for foster kids to live a normal life. Go spend the night at your friend's house.
Yeah.
For you to, like, if you finish high school, if you're in the system, you should be able to enlist.
Right.
You know, like, that's not right. You're not with
If
your
you have
family.
a diploma
You
and
know?
you want to go fight for me, you have my complete blessing.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I found it preposterous.
What was the ultimate
Mm-hmm.
resolution of any of that? Did you get anything?
We ended up changing quite a bit of laws.
Okay, cool.
And it was very fulfilling. And then by the time I'm going to go finish signing up my contract, I peed on a little stick.
And you're like,
and it was like,
never mind.
oh fuck. So my recruiter was like,
Yeah.
you can put your contract like on hold. We can
Yeah.
revisit this later on in
Yeah.
the future. Whatever. So not only am I a huge advocate for foster children, you know, I am a huge advocate for military.
Sure.
You know, my uncle was in the military as well, and so, but it was just the satisfaction that after me being in foster care, after being through so much, I did some good.
Right.
I feel great. You
That's
know,
cool.
Should.
the only
Yeah.
downfall I would say is now I'm in aftercare, which I had talked to you about
Right,
before. The aftercare workers, fuck them.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't
Yeah.
understand
So-
after work.
With Buckner, I ended up being able to participate in like aftercare. So they help you enroll in colleges.
Okay.
They help you learn how to pay your bills. You know,
Okay.
they're
like a transition into
Right.
adulthood.
Right.
from-
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, no, fuck them.
Yeah. Okay,
Because
no,
as soon
fuck
as
them.
you turn 18, they're willing to help you in the very beginning, and then they want you to go.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't like
Yeah.
never come back to
Assembly,
them.
like, yeah.
I literally called a worker not too long ago because I want to go back to school for my pharmaceutical technician license. And I was like, hey, do you guys have my diploma on file?
Yeah.
Didn't want to help at all. She just sent a link.
God.
I'm sorry, you're an adult. Click.
Like, honestly, sent a link for me to go get my transcript. And I'm trying to be cordial with this bitch.
Sure.
And I'm like, thank you, appreciate it, bye. You know, but
Wow. That sucks.
yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the aftercare thing, because whenever I was at the High Plains Children's Home, which was the last children's home that I worked at until 2012, so it's been over a decade. We had we had a couple of kids that were over. They did the aftercare thing too, and we actually had two kids, one that was 19 and one that was 20 that still lived there. The 20-year-old, she was special needs. She was physically and slightly mentally disabled. She walked with like crutches. I'm not sure what her deal was. She had crutches, and she. But she was a real sweet kid, but it was very difficult because we weren't equipped to deal with physically disabled kids.
Yeah.
But because she was technically an adult, she, is a 20-year-old. And then we had this 19-year-old who, he was just very, very immature. But he hadn't graduated high school yet. He was still 19 and he hadn't graduated high school. He'd been in care, and he was a privately placed kid. Both of his biological parents were dead. He had a distant aunt and uncle who this kid's story was like insane. He was like living in a house, like an abandoned house. He was breaking into people's houses, stealing stuff. He was stealing a shitload of guns, though.
Oh.
So when he was like 15 or 16 years old,
Give him food, eats for
when
a
he
game.
was
Give
when
him
he
a
was
gun.
he was living up in Illinois. He was living in Illinois. And when he was 15 or 16 years old, because his mom couldn't take care of him, she was homeless. His dad had died. And the SWAT team busted into this abandoned house, arrested him because he had a shitload of guns. And then he went into a juvenile detention center. While he was in juvie, his mom died. He gets out of juvie. And the closest relatives he have are a great aunt and uncle in New Mexico. So they get in touch, and these people in New Mexico, they're like elderly. They don't know. They call High. They've never met him. He's never met them. They call High Plains Children's Home, and they're like, "Hey, we have this kid. I don't know if they tried to take him in, and he was just too much, but it was this kid was hilarious. He had the maturity of like a 14-year-old or something. He worked at McDonald's, but I remember watching him. He was playing Xbox Live." He's like, yeah, man. He's like, where you live? He's like, nah, man, I live in Texas. I'm in a children's home. He's like, no, I'm here because both my parents are dead. He's like, no, I ain't lying.
Like nonchalant about it.
Man.
Yeah,
He was so
right.
funny, but he was such a dipshit. But he would get in trouble because he was 19. He could smoke cigarettes. But
Yeah.
so we'd drop him off
Yeah.
at work at McDonald's, and he'd smoke cigarettes on his break. Well, if we find out, he would get in trouble. I didn't give a shit. But the other house parents were like, Daniel, you can't smoke. You're in trouble now.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck. And I'm like,
He's 19.
He's
Yeah.
19.
Of course,
but
now he couldn't
it's-
buy
The
it's a
same
kid-
thing
yeah.
happened with me was I
Yeah.
went through an experience on my 18th birthday
Yeah.
that caused a lot of trauma. So
Yeah.
I started smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
And I would reek of the cigarette smell. My
And they
foster
do.
parents were worried about me,
Sure,
but
of
you know,
course.
they were like, "You're 18. We
Yeah.
can't really do much."
Yeah,
Yeah.
come home
So
smelling like
what-
meth, and we'll
Yeah.
talk.
What I would end up doing, because I still respected them, I
Mm-hmm.
was just going through a really hard time. I would get my pack of cigarettes and I would go right there to the sidewalk because technically that's not
Right.
Buckner property.
That's
You're right.
And
You're like-
I smoke my cigarets right there.
Just sitting on the corner
Yeah.
of 4th and Frankfurt.
Yeah,
And you're like,
just
yeah.
I
so-
wanted to ask again another question. So, based on your entire upbringing, when you found out you were pregnant, were you ever worried that genetic patterns, were
yeah.
you scared to be a mom, afraid that you would turn into your parents?
Yeah. My mom, I always leaned to her quite a bit. I didn't grow up with my mom. I
Right.
grew up with my dad and my stepmom.
Okay.
I don't know if they were scared themselves or what, but they abused us. Whether they want to admit it now or not,
yeah.
it's abuse. Putting a child's head through a wall 6 times because he's screaming
I
that
don't
he
know what
wants
they
to.
do. No,
Because-
that is clearly abuse.
Right.
Yeah, clearly.
So,
Yeah.
or spanking your child because he got a B on his report card until you're tired.
Yeah, unless
You
you're
know?
Asian, that's abuse.
Because you caught me sneaking out and you like smashed my face into the kitchen wall
Oh,
until
fuck
I'm
that.
bleeding.
Fuck that.
That's
Yeah.
abuse.
Yeah.
So, and it
Clear,
was,
cut abuse.
right.
By the way.
So it's one of those things that I saw how my dad treated me,
Yeah.
my siblings,
Right.
and till this day, like you can ask my ex-husband, like I constantly cry at night, terrified I'm gonna dive into alcoholism.
PTSD.
I'm worried
Yeah.
like how I punish my kids.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize like I don't like spanking my kids.
Sure.
They're 5 and 3.
Yeah.
So if I hit them, they're going to fear me.
Right,
They're
yeah.
I'm gonna have to parent because
Yeah.
they're scared of me.
Yeah, my brother
I
and his
don't-
wife don't spank.
I don't want
Yeah.
my child scared of me. I
Yeah.
want my child to actually grow up and
That's-
understand
Yeah.
why this is wrong. Hey,
Right.
you can't do that. You need to
Yeah.
go time out. They always ask me why. And I give them the reason.
Yeah.
And they'll sit there and be like, so, this, and this.
Damn logic.
And,
Yeah.
and they'll go to their room.
Yeah.
But there are times when I do have those snaps when I'm like trying
Yeah.
to move to another room.
Oh, you're a
And,
human being.
you
You
know-
can't be perfect, but yeah.
And I realize it scares me.
Yeah.
It does scare me.
Sure.
And then my mom didn't grow up. My mom's still not grown. Like she's always been, she started having kids while she was a child.
Right.
My mom was like teenager and my
Yeah.
dad was early 20s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
So-
No
happens.
wonder he was so pissed at you having.
Like,
Yeah.
come on, dude.
Yeah.
He's
You
like,
were
"I know where
banging my
this is
mom.
headed."
She was like 16 years old. Don't
Yeah.
even. He was, like, fuck off.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's terrifying
Yeah.
every day.
Do your children know your dad or your mother?
I tell them
Like, have they met them?
Yes. Well, my dad, whenever I gave birth to my firstborn, I decided to wipe the slate clean with everybody.
Yeah.
I sat there. I was like, you know what?
It's good for you, healthy for you to be able to do that.
I came to the realization I was never going to get the I'm sorry. I'm never going to get the I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing ever. It's not going to happen. Let's move past it. Let's grow up. Whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? Then I went down to go visit my dad. And on that visit, I went to Walmart to pick up baby necessities with the Godfather.
Yeah.
And we were
Did he make you an offer you couldn't refuse?
What happened? What happened? That instance happened when I was 13. I was 19 at this point.
Yeah.
And
with a baby.
With a baby.
Yeah.
Sure.
And a whole relationship,
Right.
you know,
Right.
Whole
with
ass
her
relationship.
father, you know.
Yeah.
And when he wanted to meet her, you know, that's his godchild.
Yeah.
And so we went to Walmart. We come back.
Yeah.
And my dad had packed all of my shit
What the hell?
into the fucking car.
Grow up, Dad.
Started to fucking like buck at me like
Yeah.
he used to when I was younger.
Oh,
Well, guess what,
hell
motherfucker?
no.
I'm not no 13 little kid. 13-year-old little kid. Come
You're
at me while
mama
you
bear
grown.
now.
Shit. And my daughter was right there. I literally
Oh,
was
yeah.
like inches away from knocking him
Yeah.
the fuck out because
Right.
you're not fixing to do that while my infant daughter
Yeah.
is right beside me.
Yeah. That's,
you know.
Yeah. Well, and
Class act.
you put your foot down of what you will accept as a parent and what you will accept from your parent.
Right. So
It
That's
is
good.
amazing
Good for you.
what people will take themselves that they will not allow an iota
yeah.
of it to come at their kid. You know, it's
Oh,
easy
yeah.
to stand up for your kid.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
It's hard to stand up for yourself.
So
I agree.
sometimes.
with my
Yeah,
dad,
no, it is. Yeah.
after that happened, I erased my dad from my kid's life, from my life essentially. Now time has passed. It's been a year since that instance. You know, I would love to make amends with him. I would love, you know, it was just that instinct mama bear. I've never had that happen before. And so it was one of those, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was, you know, perfect, being like, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, my mom, however, my kids know my mom. They love my mom. They
That's
adore
great.
her. But when I had my son,
She got two grandma. They got two grandmas, right?
right. So when my son was born,
Yeah.
I didn't have contact with my dad like I
Oh,
did
yeah.
with my daughter.
Yeah.
Wasn't there. This is his firstborn grandson.
Yeah.
Firstborn.
Yeah.
You know, and then wanted to, you know,
Yeah.
I wanted them to be there. I wanted that participation in life.
Yeah.
However, if you're going to be threatening me, fine, you can threaten me all day long,
Yeah.
but you're not going to do it in front of my fucking kid.
No,
I grew up
no.
seeing that shit. I'm not fixing to fucking have my
Yeah.
kids see it.
That's good
You
that
know?
you drew a line.
And
you-
perhaps your father needs to grow before he
Oh,
gets
yeah.
the benefit of
Yeah.
having a relationship with
Yeah.
his firstborn grandson.
Yeah.
And if it's not important to him, better your kid never know.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
it seems like we've come full circle.
Yeah,
I mean, I think,
so-
but no, we're good. I really appreciate you coming
Yeah.
on and talking to
Oh,
us,
yeah,
Cameo.
I-
This
for
is
sure.
was a heavy episode. There was some levity to it. We made some
Oh,
jokes.
yeah.
I would suggest we put a trigger warning. We're talking on this
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
Okay.
Talking
All right.
about,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll,
for
I'll
sure.
put that in the description.
Yeah, just,
I'll send that
you
in.
know, because it is heavy.
yeah, we're
And
talking about abuse and stuff.
and-
so
And keep in mind,
child
I want to just,
molestation and
I
well,
I
mean,
want to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's
true.
what it is.
You
Yeah.
know, like that's awful. I also want to reiterate. I had a great time in foster care.
yeah.
You know, I
Not everybody does.
It's not for everyone. I've seen some really bad cases, and
Yeah.
I've sat there and I've fought for fellow foster children in their cases
Yeah.
and getting their foster parents like dismissed and
Sure.
you know everything. So just because I had it good, that doesn't mean all of them have
Right.
it good.
Of
I
course.
just happen to have the survival instinct,
Yeah.
and
You sure do.
you know had amazing parents.
well, and you knew
was
when
able to survive.
help yourself. You
Oh, yeah.
obviously could tell when you were able to trust. Like you said, you didn't walk into the Turners open armed and
Yeah.
full of trust, and it's quite a testament to them.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, there are far too many foster parents that are in it for those monthly checks.
Yeah.
And so, but never undersell what you did for yourself. You know, I mean, from early on, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
And like, way to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it has been a pleasure
Yeah.
talking to you
Yeah.
about it. Thank you for opening up.
Thanks,
Of course.
Cameo.
No
And,
problem.
hey, thanks for watching Breaking Hyman with Lori and Morgan.
Really breaking Hyman
Yes,
today.
Oh, yeah.
yes. But hey, y'all have a good one.
Fisting it.
Bye.